What's up, everybody?
Hey, everybody. What's up, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Standing Out. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Standing Out. I'm Trey Griggs, your host. So glad to have you with us today. We've got a great show in store for you coming up here in just a little bit. In fact, I got one of my favorite guests of all time. He's been back on the show. He's been on several times before, but in a totally different capacity today. So we're going to have a good time here in just a minute. After the show, make sure you check us out at betaconsultinggroup.com. See how we're helping companies with their go-to-market strategies, their messaging, their customer advocacy, things that are going to really move the needle, speed up your sales cycle, help you become known and trusted and turn your customers into fans. Excited to work with you. So click that button there, schedule a call with yours truly, and we'll get a chance to chat and catch up, which will be a blast. Before we jump in, two things. I want to thank our friends over at Reeds Across America for letting us be a part of their Trucking Tuesday lineup. If you are a freight broker or a truckload carrier and you're not connected with Reeds Across America, shame on you. What are you doing? You need to make sure you go to reedsacrossamerica.org. Check them out. You can partner with us if you just go /standing out. And there you can sponsor a wreath on our behalf, which we'd love. We'd appreciate you partnering with us in that regard. You can also learn more about donating a truck, donating a truckload, being a part of their event every December, which is the second Saturday in December, where they lay wreaths on the tombstones of our veterans all across the country. Phenomenal organization and something you'd want to be a part of. So check them out at reedsacrossamerica.org. If you are listening to our show right now on the Trucking Tuesday lineup, thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of what we're doing here at Standing Out. Also want to say thanks to our sponsor, Sales-CRM, a good friend Josh Lyles over there. If you are a freight broker and you are not using Sales-CRM, maybe you're using spreadsheets or HubSpot or something else like that, you got to check it out. This is the only CRM in the industry built by freight brokers for freight brokers. And Josh is just a great dude. So you want to check out what they're doing and get that tool that's going to help you speed up your sales process. It's custom tailored for exactly what your processes are, having to deal with RFQs and all the different things that go along with the freight sales cycle. That's unique. So check them out at sales-crm.com, or you can learn about it on our website, betaconsultinggroup.com /standing-out. All right, it's time to get this show on the road. I haven't had this guy on the show in a long time, but he's doing some new stuff. He's always doing some new stuff, which is maybe the reason why we get together and get along so well. Doing some new stuff now that I'm really excited about. It has to do with sales. He's been around the block a few times. You might know him. You might love him. Please welcome to the show the, I guess, not really founder, but president, owner of Super Send, my good friend, Kurtis Tryber.
Let's get down to business.
What's up, bud?
How are you, man?
Oh, I like the walk-up song. I like this. Who is this? Who's the artist here?
That's Tiesto.
Who?
That's Tiesto.
Oh, I don't know Tiesto very well. Oh, broadening my horizons, my friend, right now on the show.
That's why
I
I'm here.
appreciate that. How are you doing, my friend? It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Maybe like a year and a half. But
I think it's been a year and a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a year and a half because, you know, the story you told me before we came on the air was a new one. Some things I hadn't heard before, so that's awesome. And I didn't even ask your title. I'm so used to just founder that you're kind of technically owner now, president.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think owner, founder, like I think by the time, you know, this part of my story kind of ends, like anything that was built prior to sort of this acquisition won't exist anymore. And so, yeah, I think founder works.
Founder, owner, we're going with that.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Well, it's good to have you back on the show. I saw your post on LinkedIn about what you're doing. And, you know, because I'm a sales guy as well, you're a sales guy. We're also both go-to-market guys, marketing. We think of these things in parallel with one another, which you should. Sales and marketing should go hand in hand. And a lot of companies don't think about it like that. But I saw what you were doing. And I was like, man, I got to have you on the show. So thank you for coming back on the show and being a part. I learned something new about you, a couple things actually that I didn't know that we have to talk about. I mean, first of all, you're about to be a dad. Let's go. Let's go. Congratulations, man. 2 weeks, right? Well, probably a week and a half when this airs.
Yeah, like 2-ish weeks, right? March 1st is the date, but you know, you probably know that could change at a moment's notice.
You are at that time where any time is the right answer. You know, when you do, anytime.
Yeah, we got the go bags ready. You know, hospital's not even a mile away. So, I mean, we're ready to rock.
Well, get as much sleep as you can right now. Enjoy it. It is going to change. I don't know what people have told you, but
that, man.
it's almost like, okay. Have you ever done a Tough Mudder? You ever done a Tough Mudder?
I mean, I haven't done specifically a Tough Mudder, but like I was in the military. I've done like
so you've done some crazy stuff.
Races on my dirt bike. Like I get it.
So in Tough Mudder, they've got the electrocution station. Right?
Oh yeah.
And you hear people talk about it. So you get an idea what it's like, but you really can't appreciate it until you run through the water and get electrocuted. And that's when you go, whoa, that was a little stronger than I thought it was going to be. You really can't appreciate what it's like until you have a kid, and you have to take them home, which is the weirdest thing in the world. Like, take a baby home. This hospital gives me, let me take this baby home. It's crazy. It gets pretty wild, man, but it's exciting. That's cool.
Yeah. In the military, much like your Tough Mudder, we have what's called like when you go through boot camp, there's gas chamber day, and they basically put you in a gas chamber with a mask on, and then they make you take the mask off. And like,
just for a moment,
out of the other side of that, like there's no way to describe what it feels like until you go through it. And so I think that's the electrocution metaphor.
It's very similar. Well, this is going to be very similar. I will say this. I had two kids 22 months apart. Yeah. And that like first 3 or 4 years of that whole situation is like a blur at this point. I think I was so sleep deprived. I don't even remember changing diapers. I mean, I knew I changed diapers without even thinking about it. I mean, middle of the night, 2 a.m, change a diaper out, no big deal, right? And now if you gave me a diaper, I'd probably look like an idiot trying to change it. I mean, it's been so long, but that whole thing is a blur, man. It is a fog, I like to say. It's a fog of war of having kids. If you're having a boy or a girl?
We're having a boy. Yeah.
Having a boy, another Tryber boy. Look at that. Yeah. I know. I shouldn't be surprised about that. Yeah. I mean, I think you're a boy dad. I think that fits very well. Thanks, I think I would have struggled with boys. I'm a girl dad, dude. I'll take dancing and singing all day.
I want both. I want one of each. If I get one of each, like that is like the perfect, like life complete,
Okay, let me give you some old man advice. Can I give you some old man advice right now? Because I got the wisdom now to
I see that.
I've paid for it. Here's my old man advice. It sounds like you want 2 kids.
Yes. Yeah. Not 3, 2.
My advice to you as an old man: have more than you think you want. No, I wouldn't say 3. I'd say more. So I wouldn't want 3 kids. I want, like, looking back, I wish we had 4. Because I've got 2 right now that are 22 months apart. They're 17 and 15. We're getting close to the end. I wish I had like a 12-year-old and like a 9-year-old. I wish I had that, dude. Wish I had that. So my advice as an old person, and I will say this, Kurtis, I've talked to a lot of old dudes older than me and my age. Not one of them has said they had too many kids, but many of them.
I haven't met anyone that said that either.
I'd say the majority say they didn't have enough, because there really are gifts. So that's my old man advice. Take it or leave it, whatever you guys decide to do. You heard it from here first. All right. So there you go.
Okay. All right. We'll see how it goes.
The other thing that, get the first one out of the way. We'll see. I'll see what happens, because it's not completely your call. It's not up to you.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to have to make sure it all works out. The other thing I learned about you that I knew, I think I'd heard maybe a little bit through the grapevine, but didn't really know. And that is, you went through kind of a failed business as an entrepreneur, and man, like that's not easy. And, so I'm excited. We're going to dig into that a little bit and talk through that. But thank you I just want to say before we even talk about it, thanks for having the guts to talk about it, because I think for us entrepreneurs out there, and anybody who's listening who's an entrepreneur, the one thing you think about is, well, what if I fail? And it almost feels like the world's going to end. And the truth is, it's not. That one just didn't work out. And you move on and you do something different. Your story's unique in that regard. So I'm excited to talk about it, but thank you for being willing to talk about that, because that's not easy to say.
Not enough people do talk about it. And to all the people that think they want to start a business, I don't even know if that's the biggest fear they should have. You know what I mean? There's actually a lot of other stars that have to align for that to either happen or not happen. So it's, I think it's good for people to get insight into the real journey, right? Because I think too many people see the end. Too many people see the beginning and the end, but nothing in between, right?
Yeah.
They see the beginning and they never hear about the end, so it gives them a weird, maybe view of what it really is. So yeah, we can talk all about that. I mean, I'm, happy to talk about the past, happy to talk about the future, but we're
going to do both. That's for sure. And it's interesting, because when you look at the percentages of businesses that fail, it's incredibly high, but we don't talk about it. We don't talk about what happens when it fails, or how do you navigate a failing businthis? How do you roll up a failing business?
Even the stat for even if you're in the tech startup kind of world, only I think it's only 4% even make it to the, once you founded the company to the Series A or B, right? Funding rounds, if you're thinking of that way, but even less make it to that. It's that
angel investing or whatever.
99% fail, right? It is a massive failure stat, right?
It's a lot more than people realize, but we don't talk about it too much.
Yeah.
So again, I love having those candid conversations. I don't mind talking about the failures in my life.
Yeah.
I think that these are the stories that are meant to be for other people. Certainly we learn through them. I mean, you learned a lot. I'm sure you're going to talk about that, but it's like other people can learn through your experience as well. And maybe that encourages them to jump in. Maybe it encourages them not to jump in right now. Maybe there's some things that they just, some real sober experiences that are good to hear about, right? It's almost like marriage. Like you don't want to go into marriage only seeing the roses,
that would be a big wake-up call.
It's good if you can see a little bit of the conflict and how people deal with that before you get into it. That can only be helpful. So all right, so let's dig in and do that real quick.
Okay.
In that regard. By the way, again, congrats on the new baby boy. That's exciting. Do you have a name picked out yet? You waiting on that?
Name is picked. His name is Aryan. It's a Persian name. My wife is Persian, so we have a.
Is that Arain?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Let's go. Very cool. That's awesome.
Yep.
Are you going to call him Ryan for short or Ari?
I think Ari for short is what we'll go with.
Ari.
We'll see. I mean, when I see him, it's gonna happen. Like,
it's amazing, dude.
Like something that kind of just happened. So nothing planned there, but Ari sounds cool, but we'll see.
Yeah, dude, that's cool, man. Well, I'm excited for you. Let us know when that happens. We always like to give out a little something to our friends who have kids. So very excited about that. All right, man, let's jump in. So some people will know you who are watching the show as you used to be with Parade long ago. Mm-hmm. And then you started Exo Freight and you're really into building technology. You and your brother are doing that. And Exo Freight really took off. It was Detroit based, if I remember correctly, right? And really started to take off. And you said you were on a run rate of approaching towards 50 million, which was an incredible trajectory because I think at that point you'd only been going about a year or so, a year and a half.
That was probably 2 years. I mean, truly about 3 years in. Yeah. Oh,
did you start in 2020 with that, or was it 2021?
It was 2020, but you would have never heard about it until 2020.
Okay. So I was thinking 21. Okay, cool. So you were still at an impressive run rate moving in that direction. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. And but then 2023 hit. You ran into a couple of wins that were going against you, which, dude, I felt the same thing, man. Starting in the summer, you'd mentioned that. Starting kind of in the summer, early summer, things changed a little bit, and that impacted you guys were doing open deck brokerage with technology, and it just didn't go quite as well as you thought. What were some of the signs that you ran into that you're like, wait a minute, something's changed here? And was it a marketplace condition? Was it something internal?
I would say it was probably more a marketplace condition. Like if you think back like October, September, October of like 2023, it was, basically the question that had been being asked to me, like kind of up into that moment was like, hey, the rest of the industry is really struggling. How are you guys doing? And by all, sort of the metrics, it was like, we're doing fine. Like we're growing, every month. We get new customers every month. We don't really see anything happening that's negative. And then sort of like, as we get into October, you start to see like, it wasn't visual. It was more like the sort of sentiment within the company, right? People were starting to sort of struggle in any number of ways, whether it was like with a customer, losing business, not being able to cover business. And it just was a culmination of a lot of things where the sentiment inside the business really, really shifted. And that was like the first sign of like, well, if the physical people aren't like happy or things are going wrong in their sort of day-to-day workflow, like something else probably is happening as well, right? And then we saw that something else like pretty quickly, like late in the latter half of the year where like, oh, now our revenue is actually going down. Now our loads per day are whatever metric we were tracking at the time. This is like now seems like, an eternity ago. Things started to go the other way. And in a business like the way that we were built a little differently than like a traditional like sort of freight brokerage. We had sort of the heavy burden of the technology side of the business that other people don't have. And so, reversing a trend that's negative, it was actually far harder. Because what do? Do you lay off people? Do you let go of customers? Do you stop building the tech? Like, there's not really a right answer. And I think we tried to find the right answer through different reorganizations of the company, from people, processes, perspective. We tried, unfortunately, tried layoffs as well, but that was a domino effect into like more despair. right? Now you have
Right. Yeah.
your best friend, just left the company, you're already having a pretty bad day. And now this happens. Are you next? Right. And I'd say like October was it was just kind of, it was a bit of a down spiral. Right. And as a founder, it's like, you're already going to work every day to solve 100 problems, 90 of which you don't know about until you get there. Right. So you're not pre-planning for these. And then you have to solve that. Like imagine a helicopter with in a death step spiral. Like it's actually really hard to stop. Right. So, I mean, I don't know if failed business is the right term. I think that there's two different ways that this could have gone. Well, there's like three ways. Like the happy path is like, this could have just gone to the moon and life would have been fine. Right. The more realistic path was, we could have persevered and pressured through and like ran out of money. And that would have been bad for all the people that were like building the company. But we took a kind of a medium approach, I'd say. Like we said, hey, this is not going well. While we have opportunity, like we want to try to help people land on their feet, give them an opportunity to get out and back into the workforce, while we still have capital to kind of help them make the transition. So, I think ultimately, rather than try to kind of push through this bit of a spiral, me and my board, we just made a decision like, hey, like, let's just go a different direction. And we actually have the resources and time to do that now versus waiting till it's too late. I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You said that the technology made it more difficult. I remember when we first spoke about XO, that was actually one of the advantages was building your own technology. Cause then you had the customization, the workflows, the things that you needed. So it's interesting that even though that was like one of your biggest advantages at the beginning, it ended up being one of the bigger challenges towards the
it
end.
was just like a part of the organization that you always had to have, and it didn't physically make dollars. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like
just giving you an advantage, a competitive advantage from a service perspective, Yeah.
And like eventually that kind of capped out, right? Like how much more of an advantage did you really get? I mean, you can create the efficiencies all day long, but like the core fundamentals of the business still existed.
Right.
Like there was no world where like the carrier rep was like a robot, right? Or
right.
like a sales guy, like that.
You couldn't fully automate everything. Kurtis,
no, you couldn't, right? And like, I don't know, I've been out of the industry, let's say a year now. And like, I mean, now there's like robot carrier sales reps. So maybe I was like a little too early, but like, we'll see if that actually, pushes companies forward. But, I think like we gave it a big shot. We gave a really, really big swing at doing something that, hadn't been done before in that particular part of the industry, but had been done in other parts of the industry. And it didn't work out. It is what it is.
I love the fact that you have that spirit for trying things that are difficult, trying things that are new and seeing what happens. I think it makes you a special entrepreneur, at least in my eyes, getting to watch you do that. And you tried to sell the technology off. That was kind of didn't really work out very well. And then you had this weird situation where you went on vacation for 2 weeks. You kind of let everybody just go on vacation for 2 weeks. And you're like, well, something's going to change when I get back. I'm not sure what it is. Something's going to change. And when you came back, you had a new business idea. So, and that's what you're doing now. So let's talk about Super Send and how that whole thing came about. That's a fun story.
Yeah, I think like, I think one of the things, how this part of my journey started was one of my investors, we were having lunch one day, like kind of post, as things were not going so great, just like in general. Right. And I think one of the things he said to me that I didn't understand until he said it, and this is a very successful, wealthy, very successful venture capitalist. Like this guy, if you met him today, you'd be like, this guy's never had anything go wrong in his entire life. Everything was roses for him. Right. And he told me, he goes, hey man, the hardest part about this whole thing, like maybe the company goes away, maybe you go a different direction, but the hardest part is you realizing that your identity is actually your own and not like this company. Right. You have to somehow figure out how to separate these two things. And once you do, it'll clear your mind to like make a better decision versus you thinking that you are the company. So I thought that was pretty interesting. He followed that up by saying before his successful venture capital career, he had 2 really failed startups. And then he became a venture capitalist. So he actually wasn't successful at all until he became a venture capitalist and did like a whole pivot to the other side of the fence. So I thought that was interesting.
Did you struggle with your identity? Just if I can get you a little vulnerable here, because
Yeah.
I think that is something that entrepreneurs struggle with. Is this business is who I am, and I'm defined by that, good or bad, successful or not. I think that's a very real thing. Did you struggle with that? Was that something that was on your mind, or what was it about that conversation that like a light bulb went off and really helped you out?
I think like, you wake up one day and you say, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. And it starts out to be like a side project, something that you can disconnect from. And, pretty soon as it gets bigger, like you become more connected to it. And then there becomes a point when like you actually don't feel like you can disconnect from it. Like you feel like there's no other outcome to get removed from it. And like when you think about like, starts out as one employee in your bedroom and then scales to 120 employees, you can't leave. Like the train is moving and like it's like caught a mind of its own, right? And so, yeah, I struggled with it a little bit. Like, when times were good, who cares? Like my identity can be the company, and I was happy to do that. But like when things weren't going well, it was hard to understand, like, is that a reflection of me, myself? Is that a reflection of something outside of the company? Is that a reflection of the company? Like, am I just in an industry that maybe I'm not good at? Like, you just start to question like everything. And you don't know, usually when you think about problem solving in these scenarios, is like, okay, just map out the variables and figure out what's not working. Like easy, just fix the broken variable. But when the variables are infinite and they're all not working, like you don't actually know the Konami code to fix it. And then you start to like doubt yourself. Right?
Yeah. I think that doubt really creeps in, and then it really impacts a lot of decisions that you make. And am I making this decision because of this doubt I'm feeling, or this lack of confidence I have, or whatever it is? I think it is really difficult. And I think it's something that entrepreneurs in general would be good to heed this advice that you got from your investor. Yeah. The business is not who you are. That's a hard thing to do, especially the more successful it gets, because you become known as that guy, like you're that girl that does this or that.
And if the business goes away, does anybody know who you are really? You never know.
Right.
I think
care about you.
The thing to remember though is like win or lose, like, people that like they probably like you for who you are, right? Like aside from that, I mean, and it's hard to determine that sometimes, but it took me a long time to figure that out of like, if I do this, like, what will people think of me? And you can either crawl into a hole and do nothing, which I highly advise you do not do. But there are a lot of founders that do, and there's tons of stories where people will fall off the grid. And like, as I pivoted kind of into this new, that's like the vacation part, right? Like I went on this vacation and I just like, literally disconnected. Me and my wife went on a baby moon. Like it was amazing. We had a great time. And like when I came back, it was like the problem that I had was still there, right? So that was the other like, hey, I can disconnect for 2 weeks, because like whether or not I disconnect or not, like this will exist when I get back. No way it wouldn't, right? But when I came back, it was kind of weird. Like I went on this vacation and I was on the vacation and I looked at like all the people that I met on the vacation, just humans in general. And I was like, oh, look, everybody's just a human. I don't know what any of these people do. And like, we're all having a great time. Like I can be this. And when I go back, like, then I'll just go solve that problem. And it was a good mental exercise that isn't taught very well. People like found startups and they're like, you better work 50 hours a day. Stop talking to your friend. I mean, dude, like in Y Combinator, like that's the mantra. Stop talking to your friend. If somebody asks you to help them move, tell them you're busy. Like work 7 days a week. Like that's like how I've always been bred to do that. Right. And it was the first time in like my whole life where I was like, dude, this 2 weeks is clarity. And I came back with something cool. And that was like awesome. And now that's what I'm doing. Like I'm building SuperSend, kind of like your original question. And I'm having an awesome time doing it. Like,
I love it, man. I love it. I definitely want to hear.
Like I get to talk to go-to-market people. I get to like solve problems that aren't actual literal burning fires on the side of the road, which is great.
You did have the interesting move. You're one of the few people I know that was building technology and then decided to go back into brokerage. And I don't know many people who have made that decision. You're one of the few that
for all you listeners out there, don't do it.
once people get out, once they realize, wow, I can have a 9 to 5 and have my evenings and, sleep through the night. It's amazing. I definitely want to hear about Super Send, but I mostly wanted to hear about how you're doing. And I'm glad that you're doing well. And, take that time off, man. That's so valuable no matter what you're doing, because it allows room for creativity. It allows room for other things other than just what's right in front of you. And I think so many entrepreneurs do make the mistake of not taking a break from what they're doing. Some of my best ideas that I've had, and you share this as well, they often come when I'm not in front of the business. They're when I'm on a walk. They're when I'm on vacation. They're when I'm, in the shower, when I'm working out, like in different areas where I'm not in front of it. That's where the best ideas come from, almost always. So
I couldn't agree more. Like shower time is my best thinking.
Dude, it is. I know they need to have something there where there's probably some. I think somebody told me about something that you can basically take notes in the shower, like vocal notes. I'm like, what? You just have your phone. You can do that, but I guess it's like a waterproof thing. I guess I don't know. Anyways,
it's actually not a terrible idea. Like
no, best ideas do come
in there to like jot some stuff down.
A waterproof whiteboard, dude. That people might actually see that and be like, what is wrong with this guy? This guy's taking notes. No, it's true though. Some of the best things come when you're not in front of it, which I think is really valuable. All right, give me the quick elevator pitch of SuperSend. This is supersend.io for those who want to check it out. Supersend.io. What's the 30-second elevator pitch?
Yeah, man. SuperSend helps sales teams and B2B businesses with multi-channel cold outbound. So really what that means is like if you're a business that has sort of B2B type relationships, you're going to talk to them three ways. You're either going to maybe call them, maybe you walk in the door, or you're going to outbound to them, like whether it be email or social, whatever the case is, right? So we're building a cold outbound platform, for businesses to help scale outreach. I think we'll dig deeper into that. I've got a lot of theories on why I think it's interesting, but it's been a pretty fun journey. We're let's see, 4 months into the journey now, and so going really well.
And it's really bringing networks together because people have an email list that they'll use. They have their their LinkedIn following. They've got their Twitter following that they have. And this is bringing it together to, it sounds like, capitalize on all of those connections and all those networks to drive interest or awareness, first of all, and then interest into what you're doing. And, a lot of people struggle with outbound because they're not creative, in my opinion. They're not good. They don't tell good stories. They don't get people's attention very much. They're kind of annoying. And sometimes when you do it too much and you get that reputation, the moment you send something, even if it's good, they might just automatically think, I don't want to hear from them again, or unsubscribe or whatever it is. So with technology, I'd be curious to hear how you're overcoming some of the inherent roadblocks to outbound, whether it be kind of the typical approaches, the show up and throw up type approaches, all that type of stuff. Like how are you weaving that into an automated platform?
So I think, like, to your point, like, let's call it what it is. Like, people get a lot of, inbound that it's like pretty generic, like, hey, Trey, saw that you're a guy that wears white hats, right? Or what? I mean, like, that's actually pretty specific, but like, it's pretty canned outreach, right? It's stuff that you read it and you're like, dude, you don't even know what my business is, or
impressed by your work, with Beta Consulting Group.
Yeah, you're like, sweet, man. Like, and you're a platform for rental cars. Like, like there's just like a huge mismatch usually, right? So like, I think like the big challenge with outbound, and I think the theme is like, oh, outbound doesn't work, or outbound's annoying, outbound's dead. Like that's pretty much post 2020. Like that's the game. But I think like in today's world, outbound isn't dead. Like it's actually just changed in a way where, because there's so much more information available about people like out in the world, like if you think about outbound as more of a targeted approach, like more of a targeted sort of advertising funnel, it actually changes your perspective a little bit, right? I think like when people think about outbound, they say, well, I sent 10,000 emails and got one reply. Okay, sure. If that's the goal, to get replies, that's actually pretty bad, right? But if the goal is to get your name in front of a bunch of people because they've never heard of you for a low cost, mission accomplished, right? 1,000 people now have at least seen you, and they at least know about you. And that attribution could come later. Like 100%. When they think about the problem that you described, maybe now you're somebody that they think about, right? So I think like, as you think about like the annoying sort of outreach, right? I think that's the theme there. People need to just reassess and realign their goals of what outreach is. The other side of it is like, because we know so much about people, like you can actually use platforms like SuperSend to like, get really good intent data about a person and leverage that and deliver like a cold email or a cold LinkedIn message or a DM that's actually pretty personalized to the person, where now it's like, oh, this actually does make sense. Like I did, just raise around, I am hiring for sales development reps. And now a platform just reached out to me that says they can help with both, with that problem as they scale. Right. Yeah. So I think like how we think about it is like today we're just the infrastructure for people to be able to do this. Like that's a whole company in itself, a part of our product. But like tomorrow, we want to help people like get smarter about how they do it, right? Like the days are gone where you just send like 10,000 canned emails and like get something in return. Like it just doesn't exist anymore. And we've got the perfect foundation to sort of lay the stepping stones for, salespeople, go-to-market people, like marketing professionals to be able to do this without like, relearning wheels or adding, tons of new tools, right? It's just, the game is like totally different. And I think like, even in my own outreach for SuperSend, like I employ a lot of these like personalization tactics and stuff. And like, it totally works. Like we get meetings every day. It's just done a little differently than it used to be.
Yeah. I love that. Well, listen, we're going to have you back on because I want to dig into outbound even more because I have so many ideas to talk about that. And I imagine that the longer that you work on this product, the more insights that you'll have as the product matures and you think through that. Because I love the fact that you're a sales guy and you think about, these things when it comes to sales, because it's really about branding. It's about awareness. It's about getting people just to look your way or subconsciously think about you and just knowing how the mind works, man. There's just so much power in that. So what's the best way to follow you? Obviously LinkedIn, it's easy, but supersend.io, people can sign up for a free trial and get started right away, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome, dude. Absolutely love it, man. Dude, thanks for coming on the show and give me a little insight into what you're doing. And man, I'm so excited for you being a new daddy, man. I cannot wait. Thanks, that's so good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Appreciate it, Trey.
Keep us posted on when the little fella arrives. Arian. Oh man, Arian. Oh, so close. At least I got all the letters in my head.
Don't say Arian. Say Arian.
Don't say Arian. Arian. Okay, yeah. Oh, you know what? Bruce Arian, I think is what I was thinking about. The coach, Bruce Arian. Get that out of the mind. Won't do that anymore. All right, Kurtis. Good to talk to you, man. We'll see you around real soon, bud.
Thanks, Trey.
Awesome. Hey, make sure you come back every Tuesday for an episode just like this with guys like Kurtis Tryber to learn about new skills around sales, marketing, and leadership. And again, make sure you check out Sales-CRM if you're a freight broker needing a new CRM. Until next time, my friends, don't forget, stop standing still, start standing out. We'll see you soon.